Welcome, dear friends, to the Tallaght, a Wheel of Time podcast hosted by three gentlemen for whom the very wheel itself bends around. Without further ado, here are your hosts, Bill, Rob, and Rich.
Hello, dear dark friends, and welcome to the Tallaght, a Wheel of Time podcast where we go through the Wheel of Time one chapter at a time, and we tell you all about it. Yes, hello. My name is Bill. I am part of the Tallaght crew with Rob and Rich, but unfortunately, Rob and Rich cannot make it this week, and so yes, you've got a Bill solo episode, which means you all get to enjoy the lovely readings with Bill. But we actually had Rob record an actual outro for that, which was nice. So, well, an intro and outro. So it'll be a bit more professional this time. But yes, hello and welcome to the show. So this week we're going to be going over chapter 44 of the Wheel of Time, which is the Dark Along the Ways. So last week we basically had more talking about going through the ways, and Loyal gave us a big explanation of how the ways were made, and basically his people were taught how to make and use the ways by the well, not make the ways, but how to use the ways, and how to grow gateways into the ways by the batshit crazy men who are being driven nuts by the one power. So yeah, that seems like a good idea to use that. Hey, yeah, you're going crazy slowly. You're being driven mad by the Dark One's tame. So, yeah, I'll use your crazy dark ways. But yes, that's where our gang are. They've decided that that's what they've got to do. And so in this chapter, that's what we're going to be moving into. But before we go into that, we've got some updates for the show. So I can't really remember if Rob mentioned it last week, but we have actually started a Reddable account. So we have merchandise. Yep. I know, guys. I know you're so excited about this. I know every single one of you listeners really wants a Taviran mug with our logo on it. But no, if any of you were ever interested in doing that sort of stuff, that stuff is available. So there will be a link in the show notes below. And we have also, which I'm sure you'll be very pleased to hear, we have set up a Patreon account. Now, I've had plenty of people message me over the last several weeks. I'll say several weeks. Like we're on chapter 40 something. I'm sure we're like 40 weeks into this. So we'll be going for a year soon. And there's 52 chapters in this. So we should crest a year by the time we finish the first book. This is going to be a long podcast, people. I hope you're strapped in. But yes, we have finally set up a Patreon account. So you can come visit us at patreon.com/the Taviran, TheTarben. Taviran? Did I spell that right? Oh, I can never spell things out loud. Right. TheTaveren. Patreon.com/the Taviran. So yeah, if you've ever wanted to throw us a buck or two, I've had plenty of people message me, DM me on Twitter and other places saying, "Do you guys have a Patreon? I'd love to throw you a buck." If now's your chance, you can finally do so. We're going to have lots of exclusive content on there. I'd really like to sort of go over a lot of it when Rob and Rich are on here as well. But I know we're going to be doing things like we want to do a little sketch show about Kevin and Greg. That'll be on there. You'll get exclusive access to parts of our Patreon areas of Discord. And we're going to try and run a Wheel of Time MUD event as well. MUD stands for Multi-User Dungeon. And I've got no idea what it is. It's some sort of Dungeons and Dragons thing. And I've never played Dungeons and Dragons in my life, so I'm gonna have to have Rob show me what that is, and I'm gonna have to see if I can make it work on Discord. But yeah, we've got lots of good stuff coming on there, and so what I'm gonna play you next is just a little introduction, which we'll be putting at the beginning of the show. But I thought it'd be nice to just show off our little Patreon ad. So here it is. Hello, dark friends. Now's your chance to atone and help the boys by throwing them a buck or two over at Patreon. and help keep them from spending any more nights under a bush. Well, not rich, but Rob and Bill deserve a nice bed at an inn for a change. Get exclusive access to bonus content and much, much more. So go to patreon.com/the Tarviran and donate a couple of bucks. That's patreon.com/the Tarviran and come be part of the pattern. So there you have it, my fantastic little Patreon advert. Yeah, I was quite proud of that. Those sort of things don't always work out very well, but that seemed to go quite well for me, considering my limited podcasting equipment I now currently own. And places to podcast and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, enough of my moanings. So iTunes reviews. Now, again, I think Rob actually forgot to mention we did actually have an iTunes review last week, sent via Apple Podcasts in the United States, and it was entitled. It was a 5-star review, so thank you very much for that. And an epic podcast for an epic series, and this was by Eric Slader. So, if you've been hesitant about diving into the deep lore and rich storytelling of Robert Jordan's epic Wheel of Time series, this podcast might just motivate you to take the leap. It's an ambitious project, but these guys make the journey worth the while. Smiley face. So, yeah, thank you, Eric. That was very nice of you to put that down there. Yeah, we always want you guys to give us lovely iTunes reviews. Because it's just really nice to get a bit of feedback. If you've got criticisms, feel free to give us some criticism. If you've got love and positivity, we love your positivity too. So yeah, feel free to review us on whatever podcatching apps that you happen to use, and it all helps grow and get the show out there to other people. Because in the day, we do this because we love the series and we love talking about the Wheel of Time, but more than that, we love talking to you guys too. So, the fact that you guys are listening is just completely overwhelming to us. So, yeah, keep it up, guys. Keep it up. So, what's next on the agenda today? So, what's next? I hear you cry. I hear you cry. Don't cry, Yazoo. Anyway, yes. So, Wheel of Time news. Now, again, it's just lots of love and positivity coming from the Wheel of Time set. Now, admittedly, it's good that we've got the TV show going because it means that there is normally some sort of news to report on. But yeah, they're filming, they're doing stuff. The cast seem to be getting on. There are nice pictures that come out every now and then. There's a goat. There's Bella. Stuff's happening. But one of the things that has been going on in the background, on especially over Twitter, that me and Rob have been sort of talking about, is that there's the campaign to bring Billy back. Yes, they're not talking about me. We're talking about good old Billy Zane. Now, I don't know how many of you out there. I, I always assume that everybody knows about this. But maybe you don't know about it. There was originally a Wheel of Time. What do they call it? Like a pilot episode long ago by the people who used to own the rights before Amazon got hold of them. I think they were called Red Eagle Entertainment, if I remember correctly. And Billy Zane was in it, and he played Beelzemon, and he played Beelzemon in the prologue to Eye of the World, the one where he interacts with Luz Ferrin. So yeah, there's a big campaign to bring Billy back, and to be honest with you, I am so behind that. That pilot was dreadful, and it's not one of Billy Zane's finest moments. He doesn't have many finest moments, but that definitely was not one of them. But at the same time, I think he would actually make a pretty good Beelzemon. Um, he's just got that look. I don't know. Maybe it's just because he's bald. Do all bald men remind you of that sort of thing? Oh, my best friend Dan's going to kill me. Yes, but yeah, bring Billy back. That's the campaign that's going on Twitter. So my secret theory is Beelzemon's pretty crucial to the plot. Now they could go full out on CGI with Beelzemon, doing Bill as like a big sort of flaming skull, be like Nicolas Cage in that Hell Rider thing that he did. I can't even remember what the name of that was. Death Rider, Hell Rider, something Rider, riding through the snow. Don't eat the yellow snow. Yeah, don't eat the yellow snow. That must have been the film. Nicolas Cage and Don't Eat the Yellow Snow. My hair's on fire. Um, so where do I get this from? I just go on complete tangents. Anyway, so yeah, so bring Billy Zane back. I reckon, you know, I haven't seen a casting for Beelzebub, and he is quite important to the beginning of this book. And I'm thinking, yeah, I reckon they've done that. I reckon there's a cheeky little nod. They've gone and got Billy Zane to do those Beelzebub scenes, and they haven't mentioned it. So yeah, if the bring back Billy thing doesn't take off, I reckon he might still be in there anyway. I reckon they're going to cheekily slip that one into the show. Be like, hey, look at our Beelzebub. We got the Zane Meister. Ugh, ugh, ugh. Oh, that even made me cringe saying Zane Meister. Ugh, ugh. Oh, I can feel Billy Zane writing out a strong letter to his lawyer. Don't let them call me that. So yeah, apart from that little bit of fun going on in the community, not really much to report. There won't really be much to report until we know that we've got a sort of confirmed date for it coming out. I know a lot of people were thinking there might be a Super Bowl advert, but didn't happen. I'm afraid, people, didn't happen. So next up, we're going to have a quick word from our sponsors.
Hey guys, let's time out for a second. I know you're probably listening really deep in the Tallaght podcast, listening to what Rob, myself, and Bill are talking about. Probably whatever Bill's rambling about. I want to take a minute to talk to you about Spotify. Spotify, you can listen to all your favorite artists and podcasts in one place for free. You don't even need a premium account to do that. Spotify has a huge collection of podcasts on every topic, including the one you're listening to right now. On Spotify, you can follow your favorite podcast so you never miss an episode. That's pretty nice. Premium users can download episodes to listen to offline wherever you are. That's pretty handy, especially when you're in Emmonsfield. I bet there's not very good cell reception. Easily share with what you're listening to your friends on Instagram. So tell you what, if you haven't done so already, download the Spotify app, search for the Tom Varian podcast on Spotify, or browse your podcasts in your library tab. Also, make sure you follow me so you never miss an episode of the Tom Varian podcast. All right, guys, let's get back to the discussion of the Tom Varian podcast.
Hello, my name's Bill. I'm here in the UK doing UK things, not being eaten by giant people.
And I'm Tyler, in the US, also not being eaten by giant people. And we host The Coordinate, an Attack on Titan podcast, where we...
Hold on a second, Tyler. Hold on. There's some weird noises going on outside the door. Let me just go check it out quickly. It's Twitter Troy Titan. My leg. He's eating my leg.
Bill?
No. Oh, it's gone. He's eating my bloody leg, Tyler. Troy's eating my leg.
Anyways, we're a monthly podcast where we read an arc of the manga a month, try to get Bill caught up. Bill, you want to tell them where they can find us?
What do you want?
Where can people listen to the podcast?
I don't have a clue. Oh, he's going to eat me. He's going to eat me. Why are there so many cats in here? Oh, God, I hope
can I get a new co-host?
Down to the crux of the matter, people. This week's episode. Chapter 44 from the Eye of the World. The Dark Along the Ways. So, as me and Rob keep going back and forth on these one-person episodes, because these are quite short chapters, and generally most of it involves people just talking to each other. There's a lot of plot development. There's not a lot of action going on. So there's a few things we can elaborate on that are quite good in these chapters, but most of it isn't that amazing. But I do get a nice juicy bit at the end here when the gang gets on their way, shall we say. So we start off and we're still in the Queen's blessing. We've been here for like 3 chapters now. And it's well before sunrise, and we meet up with Master Gil, and he's about to lead the company out of the inn by a hidden door in the stable. And so they're sort of, they're clambering through the dark. They're going through the inn at the early mornings, and the staff can see these people leaving. Staff coming to bake the morning bread before their customers come in to do whatever customers do early mornings. Why do I assume they bake bread? I assume there must be a bakery around the corner. But, people were in. It's an inn. What am I doing? What am I talking about? It's going to be bed and breakfast in the morning, isn't it? There's going to be bacon sarnies. There's going to be a continental buffet. They're going to do croissants. I'm sure Master Gill makes some lovely croissants and some pain chocolats for the visiting French ministers that come to the Queen's blessing. Uh, no, I assume it's just stew and hot pot most of the way, considering that there's quite a food shortage going on in the world of Randland at the moment. But yeah, they kind of stumble through all the inn, and they start stumbling through the horses' stables in the dark. And Loyal's there. He's complaining, "Oh, I can't believe we're going to have one lamp." And she's like, "No, we're sneaking out here because don't forget, there are people who oppose the Queen, and there are bloody white cloaks all watching this place, wondering what we're all going to do next. So we're sneaking out the back door. Thankfully, Master Gill has a rather nice back door to his Queen's blessing." We get this point as well where Matt sort of pulls Rand aside. So Matt's kind of slowly coming back into himself after the old "I'm going to kill everyone with this evil dagger" incident of 1965. And he tells Matt that he's noticed a change in Perrin. It's like, yeah, Matt, you really can't talk. All right. You've definitely had the worst of changes as far as all the boys go. But yeah, he says he's noticed a change in Perrin, and I don't think he's just talking about his eyes. Now, at this point, I feel like that's quite harsh because Perrin's just a bit, he's been through some stuff with the White Cloaks that weren't very nice. Him and Egwene, they travelled with the travelling people. He became, his eyes turned gold, and he could communicate with wolves. So he's probably just feeling a bit like, oh, I really just don't want to talk about it. And Matt's just like, hey, Perrin's changed. He's not the same boy he used to be. Of course he's not. He hasn't got a bloody great big hammer in his hand, like banging away at steelworks in Master Luhan's forge. Like, you know, come on, Matt, use your brain. But Rand sort of goes, yeah, I see what you mean, but Moraine's there. She looks like she's been helping him out a bit, and let's face it, she helped you, Matt. So fucking shut up, zip up, and put a bit of trust in your mate. All right, us three, we're in this together. All right. He basically also says, there's no time to really discuss it now. And we also get this nice little bit where, as they get all the way to the back of these stables, and one of Master Gill's stable hands says, "Yep, coast is absolutely clear." They move all the hay out of the way, they move all the equipment out of the way, and then they move these two little latches, and the door swings open. They've got a secret door at the back of their stable, which leads into an alleyway. Which apparently nobody knows it's there, so nobody's gonna, the White Cloaks aren't gonna be watching it, so they can safely escape. And apparently Loyal as well has an amazing ability where he sort of puts his head out like he's listening to the wind or some rubbish, some hippie doodle, yeah, and he can sense where the Waygate is. And Master Gill does actually mention as they're leaving, like, it's a bit tight out there. And yeah, Rand says, they're on these big horses, you've got Bella in tow, they've all got these various shaggy mares. Loyal does not want to ride his horse, like, my legs were made for walking. That's just what they'll do. And if you're not careful, I'll walk all over this horse too. And yeah, he doesn't want to ride the horse, but they say, come on, you'll look strange without it. So on the horses, they get down this alleyway. Horses have obviously got, their lamps and everything, their food that they need to go through the ways. It's going to take them a good couple of days, maybe even a week to get through the ways, according to what Moraine and Loyal said in the last chapter. So these horses are packed up and they're scraping against the walls as they go down. And Rand's just like, every tiny little noise feels like it's the loudest noise in the world, and that White Cloaks are just going to come toppling down on them at any moment. But yeah, that fortunately does not happen. They manage to get out of this little alleyway and they follow Loyal around. And Rand sort of mentions how ridiculous the scene is because of how big Loyal is. Like, they've got Loyal the biggest horse they can find, but he looks like either, they try to get the biggest horse to make him look more proportionate, but because of all the other people behind him, in this little caravan that's traveling through the cities of Camelin. It's a bit like, why is there a giant at the front? But luckily they don't really get spotted. Most people aren't really paying attention at this time of day, and also because it's quite dark, it's easy to sort of think, he's either just a tall man on a normal horse or a gigantic horse with a normal man on it. So, they sort of use that as a bit of disguise to try and help cover up the fact that they've got a giant mythical creature with them. So after they get to, it's around about sunrise before Loyal's, special Waygate senses, like grinder for Waygates. Um, he finally brings them up to the building where the Waygate is, and so Moraine jumps off her horse. She uses her one power to break into the cellar to get down, and they all climb down with the horses into the cellar where they find the Waygate. And this it's a very big open cellar. It's clearly Matt's the one who goes, God, why the hell did they build a Waygate down here in this dump? And Loyal gets livid. He's just like, this wasn't always like this. They murdered my trees. And yeah, he goes into a big rant about how this all used to be trees and everything, and they just cut it all down so that they could build houses. And then Rand sort of looking around, it's like, oh yeah, like there's the Waygate, and it looks old and intricate, and then the rest of the stuff looks like it's just being built around it. Because obviously they can't destroy Waygates, and so they started knocking all this forest down. There was this Waygate in the middle where they wanted to build this cellar, so they just built the brick around it. Yeah, let's leave that there. It looks nice. Yeah, that looks nice on the wall, a bit like a nice ornamental fireplace. So Moraine then pulls out the leaf, which she calls I really struggle to pronounce this word. Avendosora, I think it's pronounced. I've probably completely butchered that. But yeah, it's basically the leaf from the Tree of Life is the key. Now, whether this is actually a leaf from the Tree of Life, there is a Tree of Life in this series somewhere. I don't know whether it's actually a leaf from the Tree of Life or if it's just supposed to look like it. And like that's the leaf. You have to pick it up and you have to move it to a different point of the Waygate, and then the Waygate opens. And it's kind of like a weird sort of mirrored portal that appears. And obviously our lovely country bumpkins that we've got along the way, old Rand, Matt, Perrin, Egwene, and Nynaeve are all a bit like, um, and yeah, the horses don't particularly like it either. But Moraine's very much like, come on everyone, we're going through, and I've got to go last because I've got to seal the Waygate behind me afterwards, and I'm the only one who really knows what to do it. Yeah, they kind of describe like the way it looks like a shimmer. And yeah, then not all the horses want to go through it. Obviously, Lan and Mandrab just walk through it like it's nothing. And it kind of when Rand goes into the Waygate, as he slowly approaches his own reflection until they start merging and becoming one, he says it feels almost itchy, like he's disappearing into nothingness, and he feels something icy sliding along his skin as he passes through, and like time stretches out and the cold envelops him, and and then suddenly he just like bursts through on the other side, like he's just suddenly fallen out of a bubble. So there's definitely some sort of a weird time compression thing going on here, not FF8 style, but just a weird time compression as he gets squeezed into the world of the Waygate. And the ways are dark. They are a dark, dark place. In a dark, dark place, in a dark, dark town, in a dark, dark cellar, in the dark, dark. Anyway, for anyone who's ever read Funny Bones to their kids, there's a nice little reference for you. And the light of the lanterns that they have with them seem to be having trouble penetrating into the darkness of the Waygate. It feels like the darkness is pushing one of our teams. This sounds like a really horrible, horrible place. So Moraine closes the door behind them and they're locked in. So the ways are kind of like they're like a series of islands and bridges, and it's really hard to imagine it because sometimes when they describe the islands they seem massive. Like he describes the odd island as being like a plateau on the top of a hill with many bridges going out in each directions. Um, and although and like what holds these bridges up and what holds the island up is a complete mystery. And Rand wonders about that a lot. Wonders if they're all just going to suddenly fall into nothingness for the rest of eternity. And each island they get to has a little guide, so it's like a big slab of stone, just dumped in the middle of the island, and it's got Ogier script. But when they get to these, they're all quite worn. And these things are supposed to say where each bridge leads. So you follow your bridge and you go over to each island until eventually you get to where you want to go to. There'll be another way gate, and you get yourself out the other side. And all of these guides and bridges, and a lot of the bridges are really damaged as well. They've been eroded by time, which is strange because time seems to have less of a concept in the ways. But that's how it's going anyway. But luckily, a lot of them have been graffitied by Trollocs. So Trollocs have their own little language, and they seem to have been graffitiing these guides to let them know where they lead to. And so this basically cements the fact that the Trollocs, the Trollocs have been using the Trollocs and Fades have been using the ways in order to get down to say the Two Rivers. Yeah, see what's happening here. Luckily, Loyal does actually know a little bit of Ogier script, and is able to read the guides in order to sort of find their way around. They occasionally come across a broken bridge and have to backtrack a little bit and find another way around to where they're going. And it gets to a point where Rand's getting hungry basically, and then the moment he starts getting hungry, Lan goes, "It's midday. Let's sit down and eat." It's just like, how the hell does he know what the time is? Because he's Lan. He is Lan from the Borderlands, man. He knows everything. So they have a brief meal. But they all sit in their horses' saddles and they eat there. They don't get down. Moraine doesn't want to spend a moment more than they have to in the ways. And the water indicates, yes, Lan also says, we're not going to stop before nightfall. We've got to keep going. And there's a couple of times as well where Loyal's a bit like, steadying Shanghai is 3 bridges that way. Why don't we just go there for a rest? To be honest with you, that is a bloody good idea, Loyal. If I'd have been there, I'd have had your back, man. I'd have been like, yeah, come on. Let's go just steadying Shanghai. No 1 power. You can have the night off. Let's get absolutely shit-faced. So, but they don't. Moraine's pushing them onwards. They start going through more and more islands, and she's encouraging Loyal to take them to Fardale, and don't worry about steadying Shanghai. I know it's only over there. Let's keep going. And Rand's kind of beginning to think, it's dark, but this isn't that bad. And yeah, but at the point where Rand's thinking, yeah, this isn't so bad. Come on. This is all right down here. That's when Loyal finds a bridge that he wants to travel over has collapsed. It's like, fuck. We're going to have to backtrack and find another way around. Oh, isn't that really annoying? And that's basically where our chapter comes to a close. The guys in the ways. Now, the next episode, we're going to go into. Oh no, hang on. Sorry, before I go into that, we're going into, of course, everybody's favourite section of the show. We're going to do readings with Rob, but with Bill. Yeah, it's me this week again. And also, Rob's recorded a nice little readings with Bill intro and outro, so I'll be really excited to see what that is. Yeah, and I've chosen the bit where the guys get down to the cellar, and Loyal is fuming that the trees of the grove have been cut down to make this cellar that nobody uses. So yeah, look forward to that. This is this week's Readings with Bill.
And now, the Taviren present to you Readings with Bill?
The place seemed made up of a series of arches. There was plenty of room, but Rand still felt crowded. Loyal's head brushed the ceiling. As the rusted lock had foretold, the cellar had not been used in a long time. The floor was bare except for a few broken barrels filled with odds and ends, and a thick layer of dust. Motes stirred up by so many feet sparkled in the lantern light. Lan was last in, and as soon as he had Mandrab down the ramp, he climbed back to pull the doors shut. Blood and ashes, Matt growled. Why would they build one of these gates in a place like this? It was not always like this, Loyal said. His rumbling voice echoed in the cavernous space. Not always, no. The Ogier was angry. Rand realized with a shock. Once trees stood here, every kind of tree that would grow in this place. Every kind of tree that Ogier could coax to grow here. The great trees, 100 spans heights. Shade of branch and cool breezes to catch the smell of leaf and flower and hold the memory of peace of steading. All that murdered for this. His fist thumped the column. The column seemed to shake under that blow. Rand was certain he heard bricks crack. Waterfalls of dry mortar slid down the column. What is already woven cannot be undone, Moraine said gently. It will not make the trees grow again for you to bring the building down on our heads. Loyal's drooping eyebrows made him look more abashed than a human face could have managed. With your help, Loyal, perhaps we can keep the groves that still stand from falling under the shadow. You have brought us what we seek. As she moved to one of the walls, Rand realized that that wall was different from the others. They were ordinary brick, but this was intricately worked stone. Fanciful swirls of leaves and vines, pale even under its coat of dust. The brick and mortar were old, but something about the stone said it had stood there long before the brick was fired. Later builders themselves, centuries gone, had incorporated what already stood, and still later men had.
That was Readings with Bill. If there's a passage in an upcoming chapter you wish to hear read on the podcast, please keep it to yourself. Odds are this was a train wreck.
And that was this week's Readings with Bill. So I hope you enjoyed that. I'm definitely not as good as doing voices as Rob. I've been keen to take the mickey out of him when he does them, but yeah, it's not particularly easy. So I hope you enjoyed this week's show, guys. Again, like I said, next week's episode is a really good one. I believe the ways get far more interesting in the next episode, which is what follows in shadow. Okay, so look forward to that one. Hopefully we'll have more than one host next week. As much as me and Rob are, especially Rob with the single episodes, do like to keep up with the show. It's so much more fun when we've got other people to talk to, which again is kind of the point of doing a podcast on the Wheel of Time. We want to talk about the Wheel of Time, so it's nice to talk to other people about what's going on in the chapters as we read them. So hopefully, because next week's episode is a bit more meaty, more interesting, we should be able to get more. Hopefully we'll have more than one person doing it next week, so look forward to that. So that's been it for this week, guys. So again, as usual, please rate and review the show and send us some love by reviewing us on whichever podcast apps you happen to use. You can reach out to us on Twitter and join the conversation on hashtag Twitter of Time. Twitter of Time is always the best place to go if you want to go for your Wheel of Time news. People are always discussing stuff over there. It's great. Come join the Discord. Again, links below. We want to hear from you guys now. We've got some networking events coming up as well from the We Can Make This Work Properly network. One of the things we've got coming up is the Materia Lockdown events. So that's a Final Fantasy VII challenge run, which is going to run from March 3rd to June 3rd, which is an event I actually run myself. It's a way of playing Final Fantasy VII using a Twitter bot to assign materia jobs to your characters, and it's all to raise money for the Motor Neurone Disease Association, which sadly took my mum's life a few years back. So it's all for a good cause, and it's a good bit of fun. If anyone's ever played the Final Fantasy V 5-job Fiesta, we're kind of sort of mimicking that event, doing it with a Final Fantasy VII twist to it. So yeah, you can get involved with that. And we're also doing season 3 of our Podcasters Assemble, where we're going to be going through and talking about James Bond, but specifically the Daniel Craig James Bond movies. So, if you want to get involved with that, go to www.probablywork.com and find out more, and you can give us your thoughts on the Bond movies and be part of that, which is a really fun exercise. We did the Marvel Universe, so that was like 50 odd bloody films that we all went through, and then last time around we did all the Star Wars films leading up to the latest Star Wars one that released around December, and that was really good fun too. So you can get involved with that. Again, you can find our show on YouTube as well. If you search for Tavrian on YouTube, you can subscribe. We're getting every week we get a new subscriber to that, which just blows my mind. I never thought of YouTube as being a podcasting platform, but it's proving to be really, really popular for our show. So yeah, if you want to subscribe to us via YouTube, you can. And there are just so many places where you can show your love for our podcast. Again, we've now got a store on Redable where you can get a few bits of merchandise with our logo on it. And obviously, we've now got the Patreon up and running. So yeah, www.patreon.com/the if you just want to sponsor us a buck or two. And yet we're going to try and get lots of extra content on there, just as much as we can. There are a couple of different tiers for different things. And yeah, hopefully you can find something in there that you'll like, and hopefully you'll like our bonus content. So that's been enough for me now. You've heard me yabber on for like half an hour or so now. I'm getting a dry throat. I need to have a drink, and it's definitely Rob's round in the Queen's blessing. So Master Gil, throw me a bourbon. I'm going to get absolutely sugar-faced tonight. All right, guys. Over and out.
Now that our heroic trio have left the familiar confines of the two rivers, they find themselves being chased by all sorts of denizens of the Dark One. Our party has been scattered, and the boys separated from Mograine and Lan. Let us hope that luck, or some other force, can keep them safe. Bill? Billiam! Put that dagger down! You have no idea where in creation that's been. No, Rich. I don't have an extra cloak with me. Maybe if you didn't ride your horse straight into the Arenelle, you wouldn't have this problem, For crying out loud, Robert, I know that girl from Berlon said weird things to you, but you shouldn't let it get under your skin so much. What are you, 11? You all remind me of a younger version of myself. Why, back in Watch Hill, I would...
Hello friends, this is Troidal Power, host of the Troidal Power Presents the Power Playthroughs podcast with Troidal Power, a podcast where I, your host, Troidal Power, play through games in a powerful way. And I'm inviting you to listen to Troidal Power Presents the Power Playthroughs podcast with Troidal Power, a podcast where I, your host, Troidal Power, play through games in a powerful way. You can find it and a lot of other weird shows at probablywork.com.
This has been a presentation
of the We Can Make This Work
Probably Network.
Follow us on Twitter
At probablywork.
For more of our questionable content.
Also, we have a website called probablywork.com.
This has been a presentation
of the We Can Make This Work
Probably Network.
Follow us on Twitter
At probablywork.
For more of our questionable content.
Also, we have a website called probablywork.com.